And we're live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited because my name is Tiffany, also known as the Budgetnista, and today is the last Wednesday of Black History Month. And we're celebrating by wrapping up Black Wealth Aspirations, the video series. And honestly, we hope that you've learned a ton about how to build wealth in the Black community. Okay. My name is Tiffany, better known as the Budgetnista. Let me know where you're from in the comments. Whether you're watching live or the replay. If you're part of the replay crew, type in replay crew because we love y'all. Okay. My name is Tiffany. I'm better known as the Budgetnista, New York Times best-selling author, your favorite financial educator, and just around the way Black girl talking about money and things. I'm just really excited to be here because this is one of my favorite things to do. I love to pour into my community. I love to talk about money. I love to talk about solutions when it comes to growing wealth. Before we get started, let's do a little disclaimer. This video is provided for educational purposes and informational purposes only, solamente, for those who speak Spanish. It is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as investment, insurance, financial, tax, or legal advice. So please consult with your own advisors for such advice. In other words, I'm not your doctor, your lawyer, your mama, but I am your favorite internet cousin. So we're here to have a good time and just to learn some things. But you want to lean into the people that you pay for that deeper advice. Got it? Good. All right. So let's really talk about home ownership. I don't know if y'all know, but I actually just closed on another property last week. Woohoo! So I'm actually in my house now that I own, cash free. Like I don't have any mortgage on this house, and I just sold my other property last month, and we'll get into that later. And I just bought a condo last week, which is awesome sauce. I have not moved in yet because the people who live there need like 2 months. So they're going to rent it for me from 2 months, move out, and then I'll have this condo that I'm going to renovate. So home ownership is fresh on the brain for me, and it has transformed my life and has allowed me to grow wealth in a tangible way. So let's get into some stats, right? So home ownership is an important stepping stone to build generational wealth, especially for us. Did you know? I just looked up the stat. My mouth was open. I'm going to read it to you directly. And so, sidebar, we're about to really, where's my notebook? Here it is. Because y'all know, go ask the babies to go get you your notebook. I am the queen of the notebook crew because we're going to be dropping some stats, but also some tools and resources that you can use. If you don't have a notebook, go get a notebook or however you like to write things down. It's going to be important. When you write things down, this is a teacher in me. I have my master's in education, was a teacher for over 10 years. Writing things down is going to be helpful. Okay. And 2, sharing is caring. If you have a mother, cousin, brother, friend, whomever, bestie, sister, whomever, please share this with them. Share this on your socials now. Share whether you're watching via the replay, which is super critically important because we want you here too. But share if you're watching live, share the link because I want you to understand when I share the stat with you, you're going to be like, what? And you'll see why this conversation is so important, that it's not just us here. You need to bring people on board. So let me read you the stat real quick. Let me read you. Okay, so according to a recent study by the Federal Reserve, the median net worth is what you own minus what you owe. So what's left over? I own this, I owe this, what's left over is my net worth. The median net worth, meaning the average net worth of a U.S. homeowner, is 40 times, 40, as in my age. Well, I'm 43, but whatever. 40 times higher than the median net worth of renters. Did you hear what I said? So if you are a homeowner, according to the Federal Reserve, you have the opportunity to have a net worth 40 times higher than those who rent. That's why this is so critically important. Not just for you, but for your family and your friends. Like I said, share on social media, tag someone in here, let them listen in, right? Homeownership is an important stepping stone to building generational wealth. That's why. But for many Black families, achieving that desired title of home ownership can be really challenging. I have seen it firsthand. So let's look at history. Are you ready? Redlining. Who is familiar with redlining? Just say I am in the comments if you're familiar with redlining. It's a discriminatory practice in which services are withheld from potential customers who reside in neighborhoods classified as hazardous to investment, usually of low income, prevented Black Americans from becoming homeowners well into the 60s. Like literally, they would push us to undesirable neighborhoods until they became desirable. I want you to think about what Brooklyn was like back in the day when Biggie was here. Okay? Bed-Stuy, right? And now Brooklyn has been transformed into this like oasis where like brownstones go for millions and millions of dollars, but at one point there was like redlining practice there, pushing people to the edge and making things making the value of those properties less valuable, and now that's changed. Right. So the Fair Housing Act of 1968 was passed as a solution, but African Americans are still impacted by discrimination and predatory lending practices. I know I've been a victim of that, where my house was underappraised. That's been happening a lot lately if you've been watching the news. If you see me looking down, y'all already know. The teacher never don't have her notes. I always, always, always have notes, okay? So fast forward to 2022, according to the National Association of Realtors, only 2% of home buyers in the U.S. were Black. 2%. Like that is criminal. I can't remember what percentage of the population we make up. Last time I checked, I think it was like 12%. I may be wrong, but 2% of of homeowners in the U.S. were Black. No, it when you hear about the wealth gap, especially the racial wealth gap, in large part, it is certainly like we're underpaid. It's certainly that the things that we own are undervalued, like my house was undervalued, but it's largely too because we are not homeowners. And it certainly is not a judgment, because there have been things put in place that have prevented us from being homeowners. But we're going to talk about today how we're going to bust through all that. Okay. The homeownership gap still persists, but coalitions, government entities, and banking companies have launched initiatives to making homeownership more simple, accessible, and affordable for all. So not only can buying a home become attainable, but it can also contribute to closing that wealth gap. So one of those tools that we'll dive into a little bit deeper is called NACA. If you don't write nothing else down today, this is me like tapping you in the back, talking to your friends, passing notes. I see you in my classroom. Write this down in your notebook. NACA, NACA, NACA.com. It is a I want to make sure I get it is a HUD certified organization. Let me make sure that I do NACA justice. It is a HUD certified organization. And what is NACA? NACA is the largest nonprofit HUD certified organization. They have over 45 offices nationwide. And so they help, and they were established to kind of help the predatory lending that started in the 1980s. And so they really help you step by step with saving, getting your budget together, and being prepared for home ownership. It's just a really great hand-holding tool. If you're like, I don't even know where to start, NACA is an awesome, 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 awesome resource to start. Okay. Write that down. All right. So before we get started with our conversation, I want to hear from you. I know you guys already been talking, child, but I really want to hear from you. Like wherever you're watching, YouTube, Facebook, or whatever, I want you to tell me, what are your financial goals for 2023? And what specifically are your plans to achieve those goals? I'm talking about live crew. I want to hear. I'm talking about replay crew. I want to hear, because here's why. One of the things that we like to do over here at the Budgetnista is we like to look through comments to see what are your goals, what are your pain points, and then we take those goals and pain points and try to create resources or find resources that are going to help you achieve those goals. So it's really important that you share those things. Like, don't be shy. Like if you're watching the replay, you're like, oh, she's not. No, we're going back to look. If you're watching live, we are going back to look. So what are your goals, your financial goals for 2023? And what are your plans to achieve those goals? And I'm going to read some of them. So I'm going to shout you out. Okay. Also, if you have a question about something that we're talking about, drop it in the chat, because we're going to scroll back and answer some questions later. And like I said, for those of you who are tuning in later, I want to hear from you too. Like, what are your goals and how are you working to achieve them? Who knows? I'm telling you, even as you share your goals, you might encourage someone that didn't want to say what their goals were, but to see like, oh, wow, there are other people also wanting that too. So share your goals in the chat. Okay. And then share this video. We have a guest today. I'm excited. Do y'all know I'm Nigerian? I am. Well, I was born in, Newark, but I'm Black, but both my parents are Nigerian. And so we have a guest today. Her name is Favour Akinjiyan. Well, I should be like sing. So let me fix my Nigerian tongue to say her last name properly. Akinjiyan. Favour Akinjiyan. Please, Favour, tell me I said it right. Come on up here. Favour is a lover. She's a lover of all things science and beauty. She's currently in her last year of her PhD and part of the MD/PhD program at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, USA. If you know Nigerians, it's not a surprise that Favour, that this baby over here, because she's so young, is of course getting her PhD. She's also the founder of Favored Beauty, a brand committed to creating an inclusive community in the beauty industry and developing science-backed solutions to hyperpigmentation. You see, we are brown, super brown girls. Yes, hyperpigmentation is a thing, honey. Right? Yeah. And in her free time, Favour can be found trying a new dish or binge watching a TV show. Favour, welcome, my dear.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Favour. Please say your last name for me. Probably, I feel like I'm such a bad Nigerian.
Akinjiyan. You did a good job. Solid, 8 out of 10.
Akinjiyan. You know what it is? So I'm Igbo. So there is Yorubas have like Akinjiyan is very Yoruba in the middle. Yeah. So it's like.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Y is like, you say like there's an N before the Y.
Yes,
so it's like
yes. I was like, I knew I was missing that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna keep my Niger card. So let's talk about homeownership and building wealth. I know you heard like some of the things that I said before. Like I'd love to hear from you, Favour, because we talked prior, but you shared that you are a homeowner, correct?
Yes.
And how did that process go for you?
So we bought about a year ago, and it kind of happened. It was a lot. I'm gonna just say it like that. It was a lot. But the process generally, it started from like having the desire and then looking at what are the things I need to do in order to go from I want a house to I have a house. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that I did was sort of, we'll probably go into details a little bit later, but I'm just gonna say like overview. The first thing was to find out what can I actually afford, like get pre-qualified, and see like based on my credit score, who is willing to give me money and how much are they willing to give me. So I sort of checked out 3 different places and did that. Then I got a realtor and started looking for homes. And when we bought, like, things were kind of hot in the market in general. So there were some issues around like, a house we want is like immediately gone and things like that. So it was definitely, there were a lot of steps, but I'll say in general, it was actually easier than I thought it would be, but there were a lot of steps. So you have to invest time.
Okay. And so Favour, real quick, I'm going to because people have so many great things, because I would like to know from you, Favour, too, like what are some of your financial goals? Not that you have this house. So mommy's, well, I won't read what you said, girl, but your name is a little not safe for TV. It says a goal I have, child. A goal I have is buying an investment property in 2023. I'm having trouble deciding where I should buy it, whether it's in the U.S. or out of the country. I have family in Jamaica. Okay, Jamaica. Jessan said she wants to pay off debt and $20,000 in debt and save up to 3 months of emergency savings. What else? Chuggy Dowling says they want to start their own business. Yvonne, I want to increase my salary and build my retirement savings. Okay. Sylvia, that's my mama's name. My goal is to purchase a multifamily property. I have started the process with NACA. Yes, woo woo. I like NACA because you can buy, I think, up to a 4-family home. So a single family up to a 4-family home. So they do like allow you to purchase property in that way. I opened up a savings account just for the purchase. That's right. Okay. That's Sylvia. Deandra says saving as much money as possible for homeownership, increasing my salary. These are great goals. So let's talk about misconceptions, Favour, when it comes to homeownership. So before you became this homeowner, what were you just sure you knew? You're like, oh, I was totally wrong. That's not how that goes. What are some myths that you were like, oh, it's actually not like that? Like you said before, you probably thought it was really hard. You're like, although it was a lot of work, it wasn't as hard as you thought. Was that a myth that you kind of busted?
Yes. I thought that maybe I would need to have $50,000 in savings or something really exorbitant to be able to actually purchase a house. So that was a big myth. I also thought that maybe I would have to be pretty handy or be able to fix issues, but no, not really. But I think the biggest myth and the biggest barrier was the amount of money that I thought I had to have in savings to be able to purchase a house, because there's so many things you actually qualify for as a first-time home buyer that I think maybe is not widely advertised. And one of those things was for us was to have we didn't have to put as much money down.
So no, it's true. So there are programs available. That's what I like about NACA, but there are other programs. So one of the places, to Favor's point, if you're interested in home ownership and you think you're, a few months or a year or whatever out, start, talking to realtors, start talking to different financial institutions to just ask, in my area, like what are there, like are there programs available, down payment assistance, grant programs? These things are available. Sometimes, like even in Newark where I live, there was a program where it was like if you wanted to update your roof, you lived in a certain neighborhood, they would give you $10,000 toward it. I was like, oh, but I didn't know that until I started to literally just talk to different realtors, talk to different financial institutions to figure out like what's happening in my neighborhood and what programs are available. There was a $20,000 down payment program. I used to work for the United Way. Well, I used to teach a financial course for them. And one of the things they did was like, if you took the course, the United Way would put money toward either a business, a home, or school. So that was available too, And so like you want to ask those questions. If you don't have your notebook out, what are you doing? Because I'm giving you some tips, especially right now. Because I'm going to talk about some of the myths. We're about to bust through some myths that you can put down in that notebook of yours. If you have not shared this video, if you're watching the replay, you have not shared this video, do it. Your people need to be here. So here's a myth that we want to bust. So most people think of a home, as like, this is where I'm going to live. Maybe you're going to have a family and things like that. They think their home purchase is just a heart purchase. But I challenge that it's a heart and a head purchase. Some people don't look at it as a home, as an investment. It most certainly is. It is the most expensive thing you are likely to ever purchase, ever, forever, ever. And so you want to think about home ownership as an investment as well. That like, although you might be like, I'm going to live here for a long time, but you might not. So meaning that you're wanting to look to make sure that you're not overpaying for a home. So I remember during the pandemic, Favor, like people were buying homes like crazy. People were moving out of cities and homes were going for 100, 200, 300,000 over asking. So that's when you have to pull back and ask yourself, is that a wise investment? Am I likely to see a return? How long am I going to be living here? Do I even like my job? Because if you hate your job and you get a mortgage, oh, you better love your job because you ain't going nowhere. It's going to be difficult to leave. And so myth number one, a home is not an investment. It absolutely is. It might be a hard investment, but there's also a head and a bank account investment as well. So keep that in mind as you're making those choices. So that's myth busting number one. Myth busting number two is I've seen a lot of financial educators do this thing where they're like, it makes sense to rent. And I will say this, that it doesn't mean that you ought not to be a renter, but you heard that stat. The Federal Reserve has said in the United States, on average, a homeowner in the United States has a net worth, meaning what they own versus what they owe, of 40 times that of a renter in the United States. So oftentimes when you hear financial educators who are saying that renting is like, you can still grow wealth with renting. Yes, but you're going to have to claw your way past that 40 times, And so what I say is, and I challenge that some of those financial educators live on the coast, meaning like New York and California, where homeownership is so expensive, it actually might make more sense to rent. You know what I mean? So that might be true in New York and California because the price of a home is so expensive that's like, you know what? I could actually rent and put that extra money toward investing in some sort of way or whatever, And so, but I want you to be mindful that like the myth of being a renter is not going to affect your ability to grow wealth. That's a myth. It absolutely will for the average person. So being mindful of that like if you wanted to lean into your net worth and you want to grow it, home ownership is one of the ways to do so. My father and mother bought my childhood home that they still live in when I was 9. I was in 6th grade, and they bought it for $250,000. And at the time, that was big money. Woo-hoo! Now that house is worth over $1 million. Imagine putting up to 50 and taking out 1 million. And that their house is paid off thanks to their favorite daughter. Hey, I'm claiming it, Favor. My sisters are not here to dissuade. I'm like, I'm the favorites.
I mean, see, you got to believe it for it to be true. And that's a really big thing to do.
So I paid off their house, and I didn't pay off they owed like another $120,000 on the mortgage because they had pulled out money to pay for the baby that I'm one of 5 to pay for for her to finish school. And so, and the last misconception is that you have to have like an 800 or 850 credit score. And the truth is, that's not true. Like 740 is the beginning of perfect credit. And so, aiming for that 740 credit score is going to be really helpful. So let's take some misconceptions from the audience. All right. So Shirley, she said, misconception, she said, is it's a big untruth. It is work and we must use our heads when purchasing location, size, and purpose. Exactly. So Shirley, you're right that like the misconception that like you don't have to, use your head when you're purchasing a home, but what else? So let me see. Homeowners preconception, you have to have perfect credit. No, you don't have to have well, ideally, you want to have a credit score of 740 or better, Favor, because when you do, then you have 740 is the beginning of perfect credit. You don't have to have an 800 or 850, 740 or better, because it will allow you to have access to the best interest rates. So we want to remember that your credit score is a average of your financial choices over really the last 2 years. So not to say anything past 2 years is not weighted, but it's not weighted as heavily. Write that down, that your credit score is an average of your financial choices of the last 2 years. Okay. Let's see, like what are any other myths? Let me just see like if you guys have some myths in the you need 20%. Oh, that's a good one. Alicia says you need 20% down payment. Favor, did you put down 20%?
Nope. I think in total what we ended up spending and putting down was maybe 5. But that was one of the big things that we qualified for with the mortgage provider we went with.
Exactly. So you
don't need 20.
You don't need 20. There are different products and services out there. There are also grants, or also like resources that, so the one of the reasons why buying a home can be a tool to growing wealth is because you can use what they call leverage. I want you to think of leverage as an actual lever. Have you ever seen like, if you're doing like a pump, like to pump up water, like on a farm, that is a lever. So this little pump is bringing up hundreds of gallons of water from the ground. That a lever utilizes engineering to maximize movement for something small to generate something big. A doorknob, for example, is a lever. So you think sometimes you see this huge door, this little tiny doorknob. That doorknob can turn that huge door because it's a lever. So homeownership can be a lever toward wealth because you could put down a relatively small amount, 3% or even less, and that can give you leverage to an asset that can be worth way more than what you put down. So you can use leverage to purchase a home. And that's why it can give access, especially to the Black community, to wealth that we might not have like access to. Let me see. Someone else said, a myth until recently is that a home ownership meant debt. Ooh, if you can't make money off, where did it go? If you can't make money off the property because you live in the property. So home ownership, certainly there is a debt component to home ownership, but I want you to remember that like, typically it doesn't always happen because we've seen this during the crash of 2000, like 8 and 9 and 10, that, that there's been a dip, there was a dip in values in homes, but on average, homes, depending on where you're buying, typically do raise in value. And so although, yes, that you have to typically borrow in order to purchase a home, that there is return on that initial investment. Okay, let's talk about some more things. So why do you think, honestly, for you, Favor, like why did you want to buy a home? Like why was it important for you to become a homeowner?
That's a very good question. I think it's important to me because similar to what you've said, I've heard it like be mentioned as the first step in generating wealth. And for me, I really care about like hosting people and having space to like open up to other people. And I just felt like that was a barrier. Like, I don't know, when I was living in my apartment, I was always thinking about, oh, the person next door can hear that I have people here until 12 and we're just laughing and eating. So I think for me, it was kind of a hosting and wealth perspective were like the big reasons why we decided to purchase.
Okay. And so like, so what saying, well, for me, I decided to purchase because I just felt like I bought around your age. I know you're in your mid 20s and I bought my first condo when I was in my mid 20s. And I just said, I just read all these books and things. And I said, I want to move beyond where I was financially. And I thought homeownership might be a key to do so. I didn't really understand the racial wealth gap and things like that then. I just knew that I had saved some money, I had good credit, and I could have access to greater assets, if I purchased a home. And so I did. So there are so many barriers that I experienced. Because to your point, you said like your realtor at one point was showing you things that you weren't interested in. And my
Yes.
realtor was showing me like all these really like not so favorable neighborhoods, And so like there are some barriers to home ownership. Like, so what steps did you take to kind of overcome? And like, were there any tools that you used to overcome those barriers?
Yeah, so I had to be very proactive when
Mhm.
when the process was happening, because so I mentioned this previously with Tiffany, that I was like, we were interested in getting an actual house, like
Mhm.
single family house, with a backyard and things of that sort. But the realtor that I was with in the beginning kept showing me condos, and I was very confused about that, because like I literally said I wanted a single family house.
Mhm.
So the way that I had to overcome that barrier was I literally now started looking for houses by myself. Like I
Mhm.
would go on Redfin and all these other like home
Mhm.
search things, and literally a house would come on the market. Because remember, I said I bought when a lot of people went into buy in St. Louis. So a
Mhm.
house would come on the market. I was the first to see it, girl. Like, and I was like, oh, this house, it was here yesterday. It's still here today. Maybe it's not a good house, because like houses were going like really
Mhm.
quickly. And so even the home that me in right now, I found it by myself, and then I took it to the realtor. So I think for me that was a barrier. I think also another big barrier, which we've actually kind of discussed a little bit, was barrier in knowledge of
Mm.
like what it took to
Yes.
actually be able to make it happen. I think there was a barrier specifically about how much you needed in savings. I think that's
Mm.
like a very big barrier. But in the actual process, it was being proactive was sort of how I overcame
So
the
that's what
barrier.
you overcame. So, and it's true. And I love that you said a barrier in knowledge, because that was a barrier for me when I was your age. When I was going to, I sound like my dad, when I was your age. Hey!
I'm like, oh, imagine.
I
I
know.
tell it to my younger ones too now. When I was your age,
Yeah,
and now see, look at
meanwhile,
me
you
here
a whole
now. I'm not
baby.
doing.
No, but honestly, so for me, so one of the things I did first, and for anyone who's interested in home ownership, one of the best things you can do is to look for first-time home buying classes in your neighborhood. Oftentimes, nonprofits would house them. Like I said, the United Way often had them. Sometimes churches will have them. Look for first-time home buying classes so you can navigate the process kind of like on paper first. Like, oh, I need this and I need this. So that helped tremendously for me to get over the barrier of lack of knowledge, because I was 24 when I started the process. I think I was like 25 when I closed on my condo. And I felt really knowledgeable. Like I was like, oh, this is what a realtor's supposed to do. I have to get an inspection. Okay. Oh, I
Mhm.
need homeowner's insurance. Like what is actually going to be included when my mortgage comes. I thought it was just a mortgage. Like, oh no, there's also taxes that are included.
Yep.
And so these are things I would not have known. And so the first step to the home buying process is always, I love what Favour said, it's going to be to educate yourself. So as you're navigating through the process, you know the questions to ask. And honestly, I have always been a hardcore member of the notebook crew. I brought with me Favour, like I went to the dollar store and got myself a home buying notebook that I
Oh
still
wow.
have. And so anytime like I took the home buying class, because it was like a 6-week course, or anytime I met with someone, because they brought in different people, they brought in different mortgage lenders, they brought in different inspectors and things, I would meet with them and I would ask them questions and I would write them down so I could get a better understanding, because I didn't want to go blind in the process. And I also asked other homeowners what they remembered, like was there something that stuck out that I should be considering? So that's
Yeah.
something that's going to be huge. So I'd love to know from you, the audience listening, dream catchers, like are you purchasing a home? Have you purchased a home? Like, are you house hunting now? What resources do you need to succeed? Like, what are your challenges? I'd love to read some out loud and maybe answer some of those. Like, what are your challenges? What resources do you need? What questions do you have? I would like, I want to know, like, what you as homeowners or future homeowners, what are you struggling with? Because I have now done it. I bought my first house at 25, my second that I'm living in now. I want to say, when did I buy this one? I was like 38. And then like the next house I bought, 39. And I just bought a condo last week at 43. So I'm on property 4, 2 condos, 2 homes. And so like, not that I have all the experience, but a generous amount, and especially one that's super fresh. So if you have questions, let's take some of those. Okay, Cheryl says she's struggling with her low credit score. Okay. And so Cheryl, you have to understand that there's 5 components to your credit score, but really the 2 most important, a few things to keep in mind, Cheryl, if you're looking to purchase a home within like the next 6 months, do not open up any new credit. They don't want to see
Mhm.
that. I want you to think about lenders as jealous. They're like, oh, you out there just spending money with other people, so you don't want to open up a new credit card. You don't want to get a new car. You don't want to open up any new debt, if you're looking to purchase a home. But the two components of your credit score that are the most important are they call it your utilization. So meaning of all of, especially when it comes to your credit cards, of all of the limits that you have, what are your balances in comparison? So I'll give you an example. Let's just say you have one credit card. The limit is $100. That's how much you can spend. If you have $90 on that card, your utilization, your amounts owed, it's often called too, is 90%. That's way too high. So your utilization, your amounts owed when it comes to your credit score is 30% of your score. So almost 1/3 of your score, they're looking at how much is Cheryl using of the limits that she's been given. You want to keep, if you want to raise your credit score, you want to get your utilization under 15%. So for every $100 that you could borrow, you want to take out less than 15, swipe less than 15. And ideally, you want to pay off that credit card every month in full. In full. If you do that, so one of the things I did was when I was going to purchase a home, I said, let me stop using my cards. And I put my cheapest bill on my card. I put like my gym membership, like for like $9 a month. It was like, one of these like Planet Fitness or whatever. And then I paid it off in full every single month to show, look at me paying off my credit in full. And that helped really jump my score tremendously. The other part of your credit score is 35% of your credit score, and that is payment history. They want to see, does Cheryl pay the people what she's supposed to pay the people? And does she at least pay the minimum? And so one of the best ways to affect your payment history is to have a separate checking account just for bills, Cheryl, and automate your bill payments. So if you pay your bills on time regularly and you pay down your debt and pay off something in full every single month, Cheryl, you can see your credit score raise tremendously. Okay? So here's the thing, utilization. Someone asked me, this is a good question. Utilization has been reduced from 30% to 15%. So if you want to maintain your score, you could do a 30% utilization. It's cute. Like for me, 30% is great. My score is in the 800s. But if I want to raise my score, I have to use less than 30%. 30 is the new 100. Now, if you want to raise your score, you want to get down under like 15, 10%. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Oh, see, Alva said, I'm the pay off in full every month queen. Same, Alva. They're not gonna catch me slipping. I pay out every month in full. Let's see what else. I'm gonna see what other questions that people have so we can get some answers to. Okay. Knowing what lenders to use, what are the pre-authorization, what a pre-authorization is and how it impacts your credit. Okay. So yes, you can get did you get pre-authorized Favor for your home?
Yes, I did. Actually, there were a lot of people that wouldn't show me homes unless like they saw that I was pre-authorized.
Yes.
So I actually ended up I found like 3 lenders that were in the St. Louis area, which is where I'm located. And I just submitted my information, and we sort of like looked to see like what would the rates be. And so the pre-authorization is just them saying like, it's not like a firm, we're giving you this money, but it's kind of like a soft, like based on the information you submitted, including your credit score, your employment information and things of that nature, this is the amount that you would be able to borrow. And so you take that information, and sometimes it's required for you to be able to actually see places.
Yeah, because they want to know that you're serious. But Howard Mama Sweat TV knowing, I'm like, girl, some of these names. So it can't. So what I like to do is for pre-authorization, I want to submit my credit score versus them pulling until I decided what lender. You can say that. You can say, I don't want you to pull my credit score. I can give you my credit score. I can download it and give it to you so you can pull it into your calculations. But I like to wait until I decide this is the lender I'm going to go with. So that way I don't want it's called a hard pull. A hard pull is when you give someone permission by giving them your social security to look at your credit. A soft pull is that you can look at your credit anytime, or somebody might look at your credit in a light way without your permission. That's a soft pull. That's on them. But a hard pull is when you give them permission. So that's what I would say. Is it smarter to build or buy a home? Sarah, it depends on where you live. It really depends. You would have to do the math. Like the numbers don't lie. You would have to say, if I were to purchase this property and buy a home versus something similar in the neighborhood, and also too, it's not just the head choice, it's also a heart choice. Is there something specific? Let's just say you had a special needs child and you're like, we need ramps and certain things, then it might make more sense. But at the end of the day, you want to check the numbers. to see like what it's going to come out to be, and know that when it comes to building, it's always going to be more than like what you initially think, you know. um Let's see some of the challenges: income, savings, navigating through a costly divorce, a single mom. Yes, I can only imagine, Magdalene. So you might want to wait before purchasing until you get back on your feet. How do you find a good realtor? You know, this is a really good question. So one of the best ways to find a good realtor is to ask people who've bought a home, you know, because, you know, people can look good on paper, but I'm like, how was she with you? Was she timely? Was she like, Lord, I don't want to go see another house? You know, like, so, you know, I would be asking people who purchased the home, and a great place to start is, like I said, those first time home buying classes. You know, oftentimes they'll have realtors that come in. Like, I particularly I'm of the school of thought that I don't sign with any realtor, because they'll ask you to do like a 3-month or a 6-month engagement. No. You know, if you do your job, you ain't got to worry about me going anyplace else. Because if 1 month in you haven't shown me anything, I want to be able to switch. Now, I don't suggest that you be like have 4 realtors working for you, because that's not fair to them. But I like to give someone like a month or 2 before I'm like, okay, this is not working out. I don't want to be locked into like a 3-month engagement. So my challenge is lowering my DTI. This is good, Janelle. So DTI is debt to income ratio, how much you owe versus how much you make. And so the only way to lower that debt to income ratio, 2 numbers the lender is going to look at. They're going to say, what's your credit score? What's your history for paying back? And they're going to say, what's your debt to income ratio? And they want your debt to income ratio to be reasonable. I can't remember the number. I want to say it's under 30%. So that how much you owe versus what your income is monthly. So if you're paying out like your credit card bills and all these kind of things, you're paying out, you know, I'm just making up a number, $400 a month, $500 a month, and you make $1,000 a month. That's too much, because they want to know that you have money left over to pay the mortgage, you know? And so one of the things you're going to have to do is either you're going to have to make more, Janelle, or you're going to have to actively pay down that debt. So that way your monthly payments are less. Sometimes a home ownership process, if I'm being honest, it's years in the making. I know we want to be like, oh, I want a house next week. No. Sometimes it's a 2-year process, because you got to pay down the debt. You got to get your credit score raised. Maybe you want to save a little for a down payment. Then you got to look, sometimes like lock in. It's a process, but that's okay, because this is it's the biggest financial decision you'll ever make. It ought to be a process. Let's just take one more. So like student loan, sometimes Courtney says her barrier was student loans, but she had a lender who was willing to look for a program that would help me. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes because student loans are part of your debt. And so what you can do, remember though, it's your payments. What you can do is oftentimes people have not taken advantage of, especially if you have federal student loans, you might qualify. Like I had a friend who was looking to buy a house. Her payments were so high. She didn't realize that because she had a baby and her family size increased, she could go to the federal student loan lender and say, I have a bigger family now. And they lowered her monthly payment and allowed her to buy a house. You know, so leaning into that. Also, too, if you have private student loans, you might want to consider working with the private student loan lender to see like what you can do to lower your monthly payments. Okay. So these are things that just consider and think about. Let's see. I feel like, what are some major takeaways that you really took away from like the home ownership process? You know, I don't know if you know what your net worth is, but have you seen it positively affect your net worth? Favor, like what are some key takeaways that we can share with the people?
So I actually don't know what my net worth is.
That's okay.
I'm gonna start there. But I think the biggest thing I learned from the whole process is just that there's honestly so much that you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And just going through this process has just opened my eyes financially to like explore other avenues of making wealth, and sort of ask the question, like find someone who is doing something similar to what I want to do and ask them about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's honestly my biggest takeaway, because I didn't know that, like, because we ended up buying for around 150 in the St. Louis area for a 3-bedroom home, single family house. I didn't know that that was possible, to be honest. So I didn't know that I'd be able to do it still as a student. I didn't know that I would qualify to be able to put down only like 5% versus 10 or 20 that is usually advertised. So everything is just like, you don't know what you don't know, but try to know.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's a bar. You don't know what you don't know, but try to know, because the information is out there. Sometimes when we get so overwhelmed, we tell ourselves, like as if you're the only person that's ever bought a house. I'm like, there are people out there buying houses. Like the solution exists. Like go find it, you know? And so I would say my key takeaways for y'all would be is education first and foremost, in the home buying process. That like educate yourself, educate yourself. That's the first step. Two, that absolutely home ownership is one of the pivotal keys to growing wealth and to closing the wealth gap, the racial wealth gap, especially for Black families. It is a critical component. We should not be 2% of homeowners. We should be more than that. So that's a critical component. And like number three is know your numbers, your credit score, work on that now. Your debt to income ratio, work on that now, because those are going to be things that you're going to need in order to be successful in home ownership. And so if you haven't already, I want you to like share your financial or even your home ownership goals for 2023 in the comments. Here are a couple, like, and let's see, we had so many amazing goals that you guys shared. Like, I'm just going to share just a real couple. People say they want to buy homes. Let me see. Wow, you guys have so many questions. I just want to see, like, if you have some more, because like I said, we use what your goals are to help to find resources and to build resources for you. So if you're watching the replay crew, hey, replay crew, low key, the replay, there are more people who watch the replay than people who watch the live. You are critically important. I want to know your goals too, because we go back, I promise you, and look at your responses. Let's see. What are some of your goals for homeownership and just your financial goals in general? Okay, you're looking to buy a condo by the end of next year. Murada, we speak life over that. Okay. You want to purchase your first home. Okay, Jasmine, love that. To become financially prepared to purchase in a new state. Okay, we're claiming this for all y'all. Home ownership, paying off debt to save for home ownership and a down payment. These are great. Oh, I love this. Teresa Davis says she wants to help her kids buy a home. I love that. That's one of the ways to pass down that wealth. Relocating and downsizing homes. Okay, Tiffany, you already know I like your name, girl. Sharika says she wants to pay off her car. It will be her only debt besides student loans. Yes, child, we love a debt-free queen. Okay, purchase a home and 10 acres of land. Karen, yes, I love that. Sediman said to buy a multifamily home that I can share with my sister. Oh, with space for a renter. I love that. Honestly, I love that. This is great. So now that you shared your goals, keep us in the loop. Tell us what steps you're going to take to reach your goals and your family. Like, so drop that in the chat as we wrap up. Like, so what steps do you want to take? Like, what steps do you think you're going to be able to, whether you're watching replay or you're watching live? Like, and so while they're sharing that in the chat, Favour, like, what are your next steps for reaching your goals, and what steps are you looking to take?
Okay, so another big goal I have is to continue to buy homes. Okay. So I think honestly now it's just figuring out how, I think it's taking the money that I have that is usually extra, figuring out how to make it work for me. And now looking at places that I can buy and sort of understanding, like besides St. Louis, I think, and understanding what is the landscape there, like who is a good realtor, where are the good places to buy, good like this not city, but like neighborhood. That's that word. Neighborhood to buy, because like in St. Louis, it was easy to know those things because I'd lived here before I bought. So yeah, those are sort of the steps that I'll be taking. So
your next big goal is you want to buy another property so you can continue to grow that Black wealth. Mm-hmm. And the next steps you're taking is what you've taken before, which is to educate yourself. I love that. So what are your goals, financial or home ownership goals, and what steps are you going to take? That part is critical. We're here to hold you joyfully and gently accountable. Oh, I like that. That's a word. Joyfully and gently accountable. Okay. Put it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, hey, replay crew, put it in the chat. We're going to read them later and start to develop some things for you. So Favour, I just want to say, Favour, you are favored. I just thank you so much. This is a very Nigerian thing to say. You're a credit to your parents. That's a very Nigerian thing to say.
I'm going to send them that clip. Just so
so they know. Favour is a credit to you all. Like a good African child, that is one of the best compliments you can give. And I just want to thank the guests. You two guests are a credit to your parents too, if you need that. Thank you for listening to our conversations about home ownership and building Black wealth and sharing your 2023 goals with us. We hope that you had just as much fun with these conversations as we did, and we wish you the best to build wish you the best as you build wealth for yourself and your families for generations to come. I hope you know that it is my greatest pleasure and joy to be able to pour into this community that I've built. You know, I am fortunate because of the financial choices that I make that I have built generational wealth for myself and my family, and I cannot want for myself and I want for you. And so like it's just been such a pleasure and a joy to do this series, and I hope to see more of you continue to share this video, share this conversation, and just continue to share your goals. And I can't wait to see y'all, you know, like achieving those goals. Like tag me, you know, I want to come to the virtual housewarming. All right, y'all. Good night.
Love it.
Good night, Favour.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
You're welcome.